Hello out there, wherever you are, and happy holidays to you and yours. It's been a little while. I've been trying to actually get some videos made. Unfortunately, I've just not had the time to do anything. I think the late Thanksgiving is kind of throwing everything out of loop for this holiday season. But I do have some things coming up, so those of you that have been wondering what I've been up to, be patient on that. But in regards to today, I made an addition to the Arcade1up family. I really wasn't gonna buy another Arcade1up machine. I was thrilled with the Rampage one. I always wanted to have Rampage as an arcade machine, and I really didn't have the space or saw a need for another one. But somehow, they've convinced me. Now, I don't know how they did it, but I know they did it. The ultimate in childhood. I was 5 years old in 1989, right when the Turtles hit, 1988-89. I was right in the wheelhouse of turtle power. So if you're gonna drop a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade1up machine, well, then you have my interest. But they dropped it with a riser, and the cost was really high. I mean, you're talking, I think it was like $400 or something. Well, Walmart put it on Black Friday special, and I've kind of been saving for a while. So I pulled the trigger on it, and now we're going to check out and do a little review and some interesting little things about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Arcade1up machine. So I wanted to show a little side-by-side comparison of the standard Rampage one versus the new Ninja Turtles one. So, as you can see with the Rampage one, it's set up for 3 players, but it's on the basic Arcade1up deck. For the Ninja Turtles one, they expanded that to a 4-player, so it does jet out on the sides. So it's the same standard size on the base, and then it extends out for that 4-player. So there is additional space. I know that there was, you're not getting that same space. There's significantly more space with the 4-player than there is with the 3-player for the Rampage. I haven't really put it to the test as far as having 4 separate players versus 3 separate players. So as far as a contrast comparison of which one plays better, that one is maybe it's something I'll set up for a future video. But the one thing, I actually pulled the trigger. I went to Arcade1up's site and I got a deck protector for this. My kids were kind of pretty rough with it, and it was fading here. This deck protector is very nice. The reason why I bring it up on the Rampage one is the screws are here. They're on the both ends, so it's pretty flush against the thing. You can't really pull it up. But with the Ninja Turtles one, the screws, as you can see, are kind of centered where the Arcade1up machine is. So the concern there is that the deck protector does pull up. It's still very protective, obviously, but there occasionally, especially the way my kids play, there's some dust and stuff like that that'll come through on both sides too. So something to watch out for. I don't know if anybody has any ideas on ways that can be flush against the thing, but not a major gripe. But let's fire this up and see how it looks. Now, the cool thing versus the Rampage one is the volume button. It goes up kind of like a TV now, where you just press up against it. Rampage just had no volume, low volume, high volume. This has a cool thing. There's 2 games included. There's Ninja Turtles and Turtles in Time. Both great arcade games. A lot of people, they gripe about the Arcade1up machines. Are oh, you're paying, $300+ or $400+ and you're only getting 2 games. I want an arcade that has thousands of games. It's well, yeah, but the point is you're buying nostalgia. And nostalgia, I mean, these games were not short games. Like the Ninja Turtles game for an arcade game and Turtles in Time for arcade, you know, were like an hour-long game. I get that, you know, in 2019, everybody wants to buy video games that have a 30-hour-long quest. But that's not necessarily something that, you know, happens on an arcade game. Eventually you get tired of playing it. It's great to play it. It's fun. It's a conversation piece. The same with the Rampage one, is that I like to look at it. I come down and I get thrilled that it's something that I own. Obviously it's not the same thing as a giant tomb version of this that's like 400 pounds and, you know, takes up the whole wall, but you know, I don't mind the size. I know people gripe about the size. This did come with a riser. That riser is currently unassembled and still in the box, just because I don't have a riser for the Rampage one. It would seem silly for one to be high and one to be low. But so far, so good. So let's fire up Ninja Turtles. Let's see how it looks. They've re-recorded the theme song. I know a lot of people are upset about that. I'll be honest, it didn't bother me as much. The Heroes in a Half Shell doesn't sound right, but the rest of it sounded pretty good. I don't know why they had to re-record it. I think it's something to do with licensing. When Nickelodeon purchased it, it was, you know, pretty strange as far as like, because this is obviously not a Nickelodeon game, even though it has like Nickelodeon on there because they bought the rights to it. So yeah, I think it just comes down to like a licensing thing. But yeah, they got the high score on there. I never actually saw whether like you play the high scores and they'd save. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. The screen is amazing. You know, it's how I remember it. So let's get it going. And you could go pretty much as far as like multiple lives on this. I remember in the old days, everybody would fight for Michelangelo. So you'd have like every kid fighting to see who Michelangelo was. And I was a kid that would like settle, you know, like in a kid group full of Wolverines, I was Cyclops. And in a kid full of Michelangelos, I was Donatello. And I've learned to love Donatello, because Donatello, for one thing, Donatello had a longer reach. It's hard to do this with one hand, but I'll do my best. But Donatello had the longest reach of all the turtles. So the, you know, the bow staff is, I think that, you know, this game didn't have like a difficulty, but the difficulty was how long your reach was. Like, the hardest turtle to play with was Raphael, because Raphael, the size, had the shortest reach. Donatello was the easiest one to play with because of the longest reach. Michelangelo and I believe Leonardo probably had a little bit longer reach than Michelangelo. Michelangelo was probably the second one. But yeah, I'll be honest, I never looked at any scientific research to see if it made much of a difference. But there's definitely a difference in the distance in which Donatello's bow staff goes versus Raphael's size. There has to be. It was extremely difficult to play with Raphael because you had to be really close to everyone. But yeah, I did learn to love Donatello, just because I thought he was the easiest character to play with. But yeah, everything looks great. Everything's how you remember it, which is just, I mean, The nostalgia level that's what you're paying for, obviously. You know, it's 2019. You've played games that look better. You play games that last longer, but that's not what you're buying this for. You're buying this for nostalgia, and the nostalgia is excellent. You know, it's everything you remember, and you're introducing your kids to, like this, and like both my kids love it. Basically, my daughter just loves to turn it on and let the music play for a long amount of time on end. My wife hates that. She hates it with a passion. But yeah, it's it's all the fun little. And I mean, between Nintendo and the arcade, the amount of times that I played this level is just an absurd amount. I mean, maybe I'd have to really think about it. Maybe over like 200 times. It may be more than that, to be honest with you. Because there was the Ninja Turtles 2 arcade game, and then the arcade a bunch of times. But yeah, it's terrific. I mean, you know, I understand the absurdity of purchasing this for, 2 games, but they're great. It's a great 2 games. And you're getting that, beautiful designer thing on there. Like the Rampage one looks great facing frontward, but just has those lines on the side. The Ninja Turtles one has the beautiful artwork on the sides, which is really cool. But let's go to the other game. You hold in player 1 for 5 seconds. But we'll do Turtles in Time. See how that looks. Winners Don't Use Drugs, a classic of any arcade for you kids out there that don't know anything about that.
Pizza power! Let it show!
This is April O'Neill reporting.
Hey, Krang! Bring that statue back, you bloated beanbag!
I mean, Turtles in Time, they added some different moves to it. I mean, there's clearly some, development in terms of the attack that you could put out there. A lot more animation on that. Definitely something that came out a few years later. But, I didn't play this one as much, just because... by that point there was other... I played it in the arcade a few times, and
Pizza time!
I don't remember... I don't think they had a Nintendo equivalent of this, so maybe they did, and I don't think I had it, if they did, because I didn't play it nearly as much versus the arcade game where I played until it, didn't function anymore. But yeah, I mean, just great fun... for anybody that grew up during that, late 80s, that 80s Ninja Turtles nostalgia, I mean, what a thing to have and play with. It's great. I mean, I truly never grew up and basically was a you know, I've always been a child, but what fun to come home after work and just pick up some fun nostalgia. Remember the old times when you didn't have to go to work every day and you could just sit there and play this in an arcade. But yeah, I have it in my home. It's terrific. Now, is that worth $400 to some of you? Probably not. Is that, you know, but what I would say is, like, you know, it's Christmas coming up in a few days, you know, wait for like a deal at Walmart, collect some gift cards from people, because I've not, similar to the Rampage one, I did not pay full price for this. I definitely waited until I had some, you know, some money saved for it, some gift cards, some, you know, I waited for a sale. So it's definitely something to, I wouldn't recommend just going in there buying something full price unless, you know, unless it's, unless you feel that strongly about it. But as for me, like, you know, Christmas coming up, you're gonna get some, you know, maybe you'll get some Walmart gift cards, because this one here is exclusive to Walmart. So you might get some Walmart gift cards. I would say just hold on to them and just, you know, sock away some money here or there. There's different apps on your phone that you can sock away money on until you don't think about the money coming out of your account, and then eventually it gets built up, and then you just, you know,
Shell shock.
and you just spend money on it.
Let it shell.
Yeah. But yeah, you know, I'd say it's worth getting. So yeah, whether the value's there for you or not, for me, it was definitely one. I think this is it for my Arcade1up collection. I do love them. The controls are responsive. They play good. I haven't had an issue yet. I know other people sometimes have issues with them. I have not run into an issue with them. I know that with my Rampage one, the one was sticking for a little bit. That was the only thing. I haven't run into an issue. I've had this up for a couple weeks now. I have not run into an issue with the Turtles one as of yet. It plays great. It looks great. It sounds great. You know, the design is great. Right there. I have to like reach around the Rampage one, but it's got the April O'Neil. I assume that's not the same. I mean, it looks, I mean, it's pretty much the same. I think it's a new, I would assume it's a new model that's doing that thing, just based on licensing and time frame was from the 90s. But it looks really good. It's got a cool artistic design. It's really cool. So yeah, to give it my personal review, I like it. I like it a lot. It's definitely one that I couldn't say no to. I am running out of space in my house. I don't think I could put any more of these in the house, just because while they're not super big, I don't really have like a game room, unfortunately. It's something that I'm absolutely going to have with the next house I buy. It's a must, but right now they're in my dining room. My wife hates this, so they're going to be moved eventually to the office, probably within the next few days here. But it's, you know, if you're into that 80s nostalgia, of which I am very much into, and I've put this on record in videos before, that a lot of my stuff is me impressing my 10-year-old self, and this purchase here is no different. It's one of those things I've always wanted to own, you know, with the Die Hard arcade machine and the Rampage arcade machine. Both of them were ones that I really wanted to get. You can see the reviews of them after this video. But Ninja Turtles, I mean, come on. For me, who was like I said, a child of the late 80s, it was a must get and a must have. I put quarters into that arcade machine. I know, you know, kids these days have no idea what that is or what that means, but yes, back in the day, we would actually have to go somewhere to play video games, and we put quarters into the machine, and I put a ton of quarters into this particular machine, and the Rampage one for that matter. But I don't, like I said, in barring any, maybe The Simpsons, I could maybe attempt to make space for. I was trying to think of what other arcade game. I know they are working on different ones as well. And I do, I don't, they're releasing a Star Wars one. That's not really my bag. The Golden Tee would be like pretty cool, but not really. Like Mortal Kombat was awesome. Street Fighter is cool, but like if I had infinite amount of space, maybe I'd put more of these because they are getting really cheap. Some of the older models are selling, on flash sales at Walmart for like $75. Which is definitely worth it. Definitely worth it if you can find one. But yeah, I think this would be pretty much it for me as far as the Arcade1up, barring some major thing coming out that I can't say no to. I love them. Turtles, Rampage, must own. It's definitely something you should own yourself. But that's my review. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know what you think about the Turtles machine, if you have one, if you're on the fence about it. It's definitely something that, if you had any questions for me, please feel free to leave them in the comments below. If you know anything about a way to get the divider to be more flush against the base, let me know that too. But thanks for watching, and I will see you soon with some more videos. Have a happy holidays. Bye, guys.